When the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last year, there was immediate and palpable outrage that spread quickly across the country. And a lot of people thought that that outrage would translate into electoral doom for the political party that had been pushing to end Roe. But instead, after the court's decision, the response from elected Republicans was basically, no big deal.
The kind of angry leftists, many of whom are pretty ignorant and don't even know what overturning Roe means, I think a month afterwards are going to be surprised, wait, nothing about my life changed.
There's a narrative forming in America that the Republican Party and the pro-life movement is on the run. No. We're going nowhere.
My guess is, in terms of the impact on federal races, I think it's probably going to be a wash.
Did not turn out to be a wash. Not even close. In ballot measure after ballot measure across the country, voters came out in support of reproductive choice. In Kansas, in Vermont, in California, in Michigan, in Montana, in Kentucky, literally everywhere abortion rights were on the ballot. Abortion rights won. In the 2022 midterm election, Republicans predicted a red wave. But that red wave crested before it could even reach the shore. Supporters of abortion rights turned out in droves to stem that tide. And last night, it happened again. In Ohio, a state Trump won by 8 points in 2020, people voted by a margin of 13 points to enshrine abortion rights in their state constitution. In Kentucky, a state that Donald Trump won by 26 points in 2020, voters chose to re-elect Democratic Governor Andy Beshear, who very vocally campaigned on protecting abortion rights. In the swing state of Virginia, Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin channeled the hopes of so-called moderate Republicans by campaigning to win Republican control of the state legislature so that he could pass a 15-week abortion ban. A ban he wanted to sell to the American people as the sensible Republicans' abortion ban. That plan failed, too. Democrats not only kept control of the Virginia State Senate, they managed to take control of the State House from Republicans by running against Glenn Youngkin's abortion ban. Way to go, Governor. And now, today, conservatives are freaking out about all of this and finally starting to realize that it is not a wash, that people do care, and boy, do they care a lot.
Democrats are trying to scare women into thinking Republicans don't want abortion legal under any circumstances.
No abortion ban. I mean, I think that's what the voters said.
We've seen it in polling for a long time. When we looked at the midterm elections last year, we said instead of a red wave, we saw a red ripple. In large part, I think that was because of abortion.
These results, though, do underscore the potency of the abortion rights issue. If the Democrats could run abortion rights against Trump in 2024, they probably do very well indeed.
It does seem like the Republican Party generally has a real problem with winning.
None of this is lost on Democrats. The ads are being cut, reminding people that the Republican frontrunner in the coming presidential race is the one who made all of this happen in the very first place.
I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
I'm the one that got rid of Roe v. Wade.
I was able to do it, and I was very honored to do it.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form. There, of course, remains a vital role for the federal government in protecting unborn life.
Nobody has ever done more for right to life than Donald Trump. Roe v. Wade, they won. They finally won.
The Iowa bill was signed, and they wouldn't have been able to do anything if I wasn't able to do what I did.
That is the playbook. Democrats now understand they can run against Donald Trump. And that puts Donald Trump in a very awkward position because as far as his base is concerned, the reason Republicans keep losing on this is because they haven't been extreme enough.
The reality here, Trump delivers MAGA. MAGA delivers victories. This was a turnout issue about MAGA. Don't come here this morning and start whining about abortion. Stand up and do your job. Get in the trenches and fight.